You're listening to Alabama Tradition with Ryan Fowler and Martin Houston on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret? With Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/try to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/try.
Champion. 27 SEC titles, 131 first-team All-Americans, 70 postseason appearances, 39 postseason victories. This is Alabama football. And this is Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
So we welcome you into another edition of Alabama Tradition, the past, present, future, the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to take phone calls. We've already got those lined up. We do have one line available at 205-342-9904. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk some recruiting coming up in about 35 minutes. We will kind of roll on from our edition of the game. We had Adam Kramer earlier, had a chance to talk with him. We had John Parker Wilson. It was a fun conversation there. Also had a chance to talk with Mike Detillier, WWL 870. And also had a chance to go to Brett Norsworthy up in Memphis. If you missed those, Tide109.com. The upper right-hand side of the screen, you'll find the podcast link and be able to listen to those. Ellis, good afternoon, man. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Wear your mask, Ryan.
I'm wearing my mask, Ellis, right now. Let me take it off. Should I take it off?
No, you better wear your mask, man.
Ellis, where did you go to get the beautiful photo of the waterfall?
About 4 miles down the road from the house.
You have got to be kidding me.
Mm-mm.
What is that called? What's that called?
Rutledge Falls.
Does it always look like that?
Always.
There's
Not unless it's like where it's like been raining like constantly 24/7. Then you go down there and you it's loud. I mean, you can hear it all the way up there at the road.
Okay. And so
you
that
get to walk down to it. And
how far is the walk
you
down?
Start walking down. As soon as you start walking down in there, the temperature drops.
Okay.
That's how cold the water is coming off at it.
So what is the river that you posted? I mean, I'm not trying to go into like Travel Channel here, but I thought what you put up on your Facebook account was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just a place, like I said, down the road from the house, about 4 miles. I went there. I went live a couple of times where people could hear the waterfall.
Well, I would literally drive to Manchester, Tennessee, just to see this waterfall.
Oh, it's awesome, Ryan.
I mean, it looks beautiful.
And the water is cold. Oh, my stars, the water is cold.
Well, it looks like there was a bunch of kids enjoying it.
Yes, there was no socializing down there.
Yeah, I didn't see too many face masks that were being worn.
No, there was no social distancing.
Okay. Well, Ellis, I may have to make this like an appointment, man. I mean, I've got to come up and see this after you post it today. Because I don't think you've ever put these photos up before of this place. I don't think.
Well, I just put them up. Now, I probably have put some on there before.
Okay. Did you go swimming or did you just look?
No, I went swimming.
Okay. Today?
It'll take your breath away.
Is that cold?
Yeah.
See, there's a nice waterfall here in Tuscaloosa, and it's a lot smaller. It's probably half the size there, but it's real beautiful. But it's the water is like it's just hot, like it's just warm. But it looks like that's cool and refreshing. I mean, one of these hot 100-degree July days, that'd be nice. Ellis, worst loss you've ever experienced as an Alabama fan?
The kick six.
Great point. Great point. I'm glad you were not in front of I-Man, because if you'd have said that, he'd have got a lot of joy out of that. I'm glad he didn't hear that. But it's so true.
Well, he probably.
I mean, Ellis, we were going for three.
Listening.
We were going for 3 in a row who had never been done in college football.
Nope.
Did the game against Clemson hurt more than the LSU-Auburn game from this past year?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I agree with you, Brian. Now, I did. I watched the Notre Dame game. I can't remember much of it because I was young. The one back in the 70s. You know, I was like 6, 7 years old, something like that. So, but wasn't old enough to really understand it. You know what I mean? You know, I was a big Bama fan then, but worstest loss. It's got to be the kick six. It was awful, right? That was awful.
Oh, Ellis, if I told you what I did after the kick six, you would be embarrassed to know me.
Oh,
I'm embarrassed to tell you what I did, to be honest.
I am too, and
my reaction after that game. My wife is such a level-headed person. I didn't go down there. I didn't go down to the kick six. I don't like going into Auburn, by the way. But I stood there and looked at the TV. Ellis, I mean, I'm going to tell a secret from now on. This is going to be all over. I stood after the kick six, after it happened, giving Auburn the one finger for 3 minutes. Looking at the TV with my finger up in the air. And my wife, in the therapeutic voice that she does, she goes, after about 2 or 3 minutes of that, she goes, Ryan, you know they can't see you, right? I said, I know, but it makes me feel better.
Right. I kicked my garbage can in the kitchen and broke it like 3 or 4 pieces.
Oh my heavens. What a loss.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I'm breaking out sweat just thinking about that loss.
It's the worstest one, Ryan.
It's got to. It's up there. But dadgummit, we can't let those Auburn people know that it hurt that bad.
No, but that's the worstest one. And you was talking about Nick Saban, the best there was, and is. I agree with you, Ryan. I'm a big Bear Bryant fan, big time Bear Bryant fan, but look what all he's done in shorter time.
It's amazing.
And it wasn't as hard back then as it is now.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
In my book.
Ellis, I got to run, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, but yeah, check them other live videos out. Yeah, y'all need to come up and I'll carry you there.
Okay. Sounds like a plan, man. We might do like a remote out there. I mean, take it on the street.
Yeah, we can do a remote. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ellis. Appreciate it, man.
All right, roll tide.
Right back to you. Let's go to Johnny in Coleman, Alabama. Johnny, good afternoon, man. You're in the game.
Johnny in the house.
Well, you're in Alabama tradition, extended version of the game.
Well, Ryan, we got a little problem going on. I mean, the caller before Ellis sounded like a cow that was constipated.
He was constipated.
And the blowhole wasn't open, and all you could do is sit there and go, awful as man as I ever heard.
Yeah, I think we're going to start banning Auburn callers.
Well, they make some pretty pink stuff for problems like that. I think that'd be good for him. But, I thought of something, Ryan, as he was trying to get his blowhole open.
Okay.
And nothing's coming out.
Okay.
You remember several years, well, it wasn't, I think 2 or 3 years ago when the Eagle got confused and flew into the glass, give his poor self a headache. The Eagle was flying around, just flew right into the stupid glass up there. I figured out why.
Okay. What happened? He was drunk?
He seen our man up there. He said, that gum dang ugly. He was going on attack mode, son. And that glass put a stop. Saved his butt.
Wasn't the Eagle drunk? And I feel bad criticizing our nation's symbol.
If you're chasing our man, you'd be drunk, what? I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, probably was. And confused.
He was trying to get away from them Auburn Tigers.
Yeah. Hey, he was confused. He thought there was a door open, I guess. Going to fly the crap up out of that cow hole.
You ever been to the stadium?
No, Ryan.
It's a dump.
I went by there, and
it's out of date, and I know they do everything they could possibly do, but it's and I've only been there. I mean, I've been there quite a bit, but I didn't go there this past year, so maybe they may have improved it. But the year the last time we went down there, it just needed some paint. It needed a pressure washer, like it needed some good old Clorox. It needed a brush. It was just not a good.
Me and my sister-in-law went down there to deliver a car one time. I was going down through there. I looked there and said, "My God!" She said, "What?" I said, "Did you poop all in your dang britches?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, you're an Auburn fan. We're in Auburn. It smells pretty bad." I was riding with an Auburn fan in Opelika, right? I mean, air fresheners wouldn't have been enough. I mean, you could have got the freeze out, whatever you call that stuff, and sprayed the crap. I mean, they need to go in there. You talking about need to go in there and get COVID out of something? They need to go in there and, get it done in that joint. Would it even help the smile?
It might a little bit. Febreze is just, let me look right here. Hold on.
It sort of goes airborne, don't it?
Yeah, let me look at this Lysol here. 99% of viruses and bacteria, illness causing germs, eliminates odor. See, that would be an option. Maybe we could do, Johnny, how about this? We could put everybody in the stadium and do like a crop duster with Lysol.
Yeah, but they're already crop dusting it with cotton pick and cow manure. Well, that's the reason they're keeping water on the field, Ryan. Keep it fertilized.
I'm looking. It's this thing kills.
I'd like to talk to some Alabama players and see if they actually smell like cow manure when they get done playing down there.
Well, normally they smell like mud because they leave their sprinkler on quite a bit.
Well, have you ever seen cow manure when it's all wet and messy? It looks like mud. Just a little smell to it.
Hey, this particular Lysol says it'll kill coronavirus.
Really?
It says, yeah.
Well, I'll be doggone.
It says human coronavirus.
Well, I think they
now, hold on. This is an old can. Hold on a minute.
Find something to kill flu and pneumonia.
Hold on. Time out. This was actually put together like way back when. Like
Ryan,
this is
you still walking around with an antique can that your mama had when you was born?
No, this is like I bought a case of these things at Sam's. It says human coronavirus, duck hepatitis B,
And that's the old can. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so I thought this...
Corona's not a new thing. Is that what you're saying, Ryan?
Well, that's what it says right here on the can.
Well, it didn't jump off the rock, and all of a sudden there it was. Abracadabra.
I mean, this can right here that I've got here in the room, it's even got rust on the bottom of the aerosol can.
Well, that could be a bad explosion situation.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all right. So Johnny, what's the worst loss you've ever?
Ain't nobody brought this up.
Okay.
To me, the longest deadgum ride I ever rode back to Coleman, Alabama side. West Monroe, Louisiana.
Oh.
Point blank, hands down. You talking about upset? I mean, I wouldn't even. I told my brother-in-law, "Don't you even talk to me on the way home." And he's like 6'5", 300. I said, "I'll throw you out of this dang Jeep. You say one word to me." I mean, oh my God! Now I'm with Ellis. If I got a number 2, it's got to be the Kick 6, son. But that Westmont, see, here's the deal, Ryan. We just hired Nick. We got high, that it's way. I mean, the ceiling is through the roof. I mean, it's unbelievable of what we're supposed to do. And we actually had, West Monroe, Louisiana, right? And they come into Bryant Denny Stadium and whipped our tail, son.
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, you talking about.
I mean, we got the Nick Saban off to a pretty bad start, did we not?
Oh, good God Almighty! I'll never forget that as long as I stupid live. I mean, when you go, and let's all face up to this. When we go to a game like that, losing is nowhere in our mind or our vocabulary. Right or wrong?
It's up there.
And then you walk in there and sit there and witness this crowd. And I'm like, and we hired Nick Saban.
And we paid $4 million for this?
I'm there going, really? I mean, God, Lord Jesus, please don't let this happen again. But the Kick 6, Ryan, I probably didn't do what you did, but I had it in my mind to do what you did.
Hey, I'm telling you, I was embarrassed of what I did after the Kick 6.
Oh, good God, I was mad. Oh, my God. Pat went in the bedroom and had nothing to say. Okay? I tell you what, I sat here like somebody stole my lollipop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know how mad it'd be your brother come up and stick your dang lollipop?
Maybe that'll be tomorrow's show. Have Alabama people be honest with what happened after the Kick 6.
Well, I got your idea for a show, Ryan.
Okay.
Here's what you need to do. The most hated caller that calls the game. Top 3. Now, that will be fun.
I'm in 1, I'm in 2, and Rusty 3.
Well, yeah. I mean, I could probably throw a couple more in there because Johnny in the house.
Who would you put in there? Let's do it tomorrow.
Well,
let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, let's just do a surprise on this, right?
Okay.
Yeah, But Ryan, I always remember this because I've always wondered this. Does rain fall upside down? Roll Tide.
Thank you. It does sometimes. Darlene, North Carolina, we'll take you on the other side. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond coming up in about 15 minutes. We got time to squeeze in more calls if you want to do it. 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904 right here on the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You are listening to Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler. Your connection to Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama athletics on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We'll talk to Drew DeArmond coming up, 97.7. We'll talk some recruiting. 205-342-9904. Let's go to Darlene in North Carolina. Darlene, thank you for your patience. I hope all is well.
All is very well. But
You-
I will say that if I was a first-time listener, I would be a little confused whether this was the Dr. Ryan's self-help for injured Alabama fans or the Travel Channel.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Travel Channel, have you ever been to my home, Gadsden, Alabama, to see Nakalula Falls?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can set under Nakalula Falls. You can go up under.
Well, when I was a kid, you could crawl all under there.
Okay. Well, I think you could still go under the falls, and I say under is back in.
Right.
Yeah, not where the water hits you, because I guess the velocity is too much. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, especially if the water is running. And we used to go down and get some crystals. My dad would go through East Gadsden there and get some crystals. It may have been a Tala, and we would go to the top of Nakalula Falls.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we go to Nakalula Falls, and yeah. But
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and if you even go up a little further, Little River Canyon is also beautiful.
See, at Little River, well, I mean, all that is just across the mountain from where my dad was raised, Cedar Bluff, Alabama.
Yeah, it's when you
pretty
look,
country. Little River is just the best.
I mean, you don't even realize that there's a place in the state of Alabama that is that pretty, but it is gorgeous. It is just the. I mean, you can go up and look and those canyons. And I'll tell you somewhere else that is underrated. And that's Mount Cheehaw. Mount Cheehaw is beautiful too.
Which one?
Mount Cheehaw over in.
It is, and DeSoto Park too.
It is. That's another good one. Yeah, and DeSoto Falls has got a nice little fall there, waterfall.
Yep, played in that many times as a kid.
Yeah, but this one, are you friends with Ellis on Facebook?
Yes.
This waterfall that he put
up.
Well,
no, I don't do Facebook. Tell Ellis to put those pictures on Twitter.
Ellis, put those photos on Twitter.
I have a Facebook account, but I've quit using it, and it's too much trouble to get back in.
Well, there is a falls, and I believe it's called Dunn Falls down in Jamaica that I've been to. Yeah, it's Dunn Falls there in Jamaica, and
wow,
that what he showed me looked better than what's in Jamaica. And I think I've got this right. I think it's Dunn Falls in Jamaica, and I mean it is simply Ocho Rios is where it is. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yep, Dunn's Falls, River Falls, Jamaica, and Ocho Rios, and what he showed me on Facebook. Now I just looked at it, and it was, I mean, it's something out of like a Travel Channel documentary.
Well, the Travel Channel is brought to you today by Southern Ale House.
That's right. Hey, I mean, and then tomorrow we'll talk about food, Darlene. That'll make us appreciate tailgating. We can talk about food, right?
This is true.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to talk about football?
Sure.
Punt, Bama, punt. Angry.
But
I was angry.
But what made it that way? What was it? You got to remember, I was born.
Well, I mean, it was 16-3 with how many minutes to go in the game? And I mean, you think, okay, this is cool, and then boom, and then it was like deja vu all over again. I was so, I could feel the rage going through my body. And then to see all, some of and I was living in Tuscaloosa then. And I mean, there weren't many Auburn fans there, but by God, they showed up. And signs everywhere, 17-16. But then I will say that the Bama fans came through. There was, you may not have ever heard this. There was a bumper sticker. Alabama 16, Auburn 3, Santa Claus 14.
Oh, wow. Wow. I've heard of that sticker, but I don't think I've ever seen one.
Well, I had about 10 at that time, but I think they all finally rotted. Anytime any Auburn fan would say anything rude to them, they would mysteriously get one of those on the back of their car.
Man, that bunch has been so lucky over the course of time. I mean, I would...
Well, people call it Jordan Hare Stadium, but it's not. It's Voodoo Hare Stadium.
That's why it wouldn't bother me if they moved to the SEC East, because we wouldn't have to make that trip every other year down there.
Well, and we wouldn't have to hear from some of those callers. Of course, on the other hand, some of them can't shut up. They'd be saying, y'all had us moved, so you wouldn't have to play us. And I always say they hate us because they ain't us. So,
And that's a T-shirt. It's a good one, by the way.
I like it, too. Now, the kick six was awful, and Santa Clara, it was... I kind of did the same thing you did, standing in the middle of the room looking at TV.
Giving the number one finger.
Yep.
I mean, I'm embarrassed, but I mean, I don't. I mean, it was my reaction.
I'm not embarrassed. It happened, babe.
Yeah, I stood there and I looked up.
And then I turned the TV off, and I stayed off of Twitter that night because I didn't even want to hear any of it. And then the next day, it was kind of one of those, okay, we're Alabama. We hold our heads up and we walk tall and we smile.
Oh, it was a kick in the teeth. Oh, it was a kick. I mean, because if we beat Auburn, we go on to win the national title.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
so
we didn't.
Go back to Santa Clara, Clemson. Compared to Auburn and LSU this year, which one hurt more than in those two scenarios?
Oh, no, Clemson for sure.
Yeah, it just...
And see, I knew... Now, I did not suspect Auburn would beat us. I really didn't. I mean, I kept thinking, nah, we got this one. LSU, I kept telling my friends, you guys have been putting down LSU all year and you're crazy. Burris for real. Did you not watch the Texas game? No, darling, you don't understand. We're going to manhandle LSU. Well, actually, we didn't play that bad a game. We just had a couple of bad plays. But that's all it takes.
Hey, Darlene, I appreciate you calling in. I got to go to Drew coming up in a couple of seconds. Thank you for being a part of our Twitter. And Ellis sends me a message via Twitter and says that he will put these up on Twitter. So there's a lot of...
Tell him I'll look for it.
He's going to tweet it out. I don't know what his handle is. I'll have to look it up.
No, I follow him, so I'll find it.
Yeah, it's Ellis Bama Fan 1964. Ellis Bama Fan 1964. So I had to click on his. Thank you, Darlene.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Darlene.
Bye-bye.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll get an update on Alabama's recruiting in 3 minutes in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
It's awesome. You're having some fun. Have some fun, man.
Talking Alabama Crimson Tide football on Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
to be able to take some phone calls here. We're kind of extending the game into Alabama tradition. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond coming up in about 10 seconds. 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville as we count down the start of college football season. Drew, I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
It's always great to be on with you, Ryan. I know Alabama tradition is something you and Martin have been building. Congratulations on that, and great to be with you this evening.
Hey, we have a lot of fun, and Martin and I get together, and Martin's having a chance to coach his son in high school football, and normally high school practice is up earlier in the day, but because of some of the things that they're doing to protect, the football practice has been later, but he tells me that this is the last week. So any chance, his son's a running back, by the way, so Martin's having a chance to coach him, and it's a great opportunity. I'm sure those guys are taking it in, and what a privilege to be able to get. I had lunch with him. I think it was one day after practice last week, the next day for lunch, and he was talking about. He said these running backs now they dance in the hole. He said you got to hit the hole. You got to. He was like he was coaching me at the Dreamland table. It was like you got to hit it. I told him to quit trying to cut. There's nobody back there to beat. You got to get in the hole. And I was like, Coach Martin, man, he's tearing it up.
Yeah, it's ironic because just the other day, going back through some memories, and I looked it up online because we talked to Chris Anderson on my show when we announced that the University of Alabama was coming to be the home of. In 97.7, the Zone was going to be the home of University of Alabama Athletics. And we had Eli Gold in the studio with us, and we had Chris Anderson on the phone. And I started reminiscing with him about he still holds the record for the longest run from scrimmage at Alabama, which is 96 yards against Temple. And, in 91, that was the opening game of the season in Birmingham and Legion Field. And went back and watched some of those highlights, and our guy Mark Houston carried the ball quite a bit in that game. That was a different time, and fullbacks were used a different way. But it's neat to hear that his son is following in the family business.
He is, and like I said, Simeon's a great player and a great young man. Drew, let me lead into the conversation. Speaking of recruiting, it seems like Alabama's on a huge momentum grab right now in the world of recruiting to the University of Alabama.
Well, they are. Ryan, back in May, they were, ranked in the 50s, and there was a lot of people panicking, and they had about 2 or 3 commitments. Ohio State and Clemson was on a runaway train. Tennessee was in the top 3, and people wondered, how Nick Saban was handling this pandemic. Well, in less than 2 months, Alabama's number 2 with a bullet right now, and they continue to rise up the rankings. They're up to 15 commitments. They're putting together the best offensive line class in the country. They've added, they've got 4 pieces to that O-line. They got 1 more to go, in my opinion, and they're in the mix for some great players, along that O-line for that last piece. And then they've got some other pieces they need to add. They need to add 1 more wide receiver. I think they're going to sign a really good linebacker class and DB class, and it'll be early, but they may get the cherry on top of the sundae. Literally at the end of this next week, as Damon Payne from Bellevue, Michigan, is going to make his decision. And a lot of people believe he's the number 1 overall defensive lineman in America. So Alabama and Nick Saban, I think, they've handled this pandemic really well. I think they were patient. And the thing that I've liked so far about this recruiting cycle is this staff is a lot more balanced with who's getting the job done. Last year it was mainly Carl Scott and Sal Sunseri. This year I think it's a team effort. I think a lot of the guys are getting it done. There are a lot of different people that are playing a part in it, and Kyle Flood, the offensive line coach, is one of those.
So when you look at this momentum run, because Nick Saban took some time to adjust to the early signing period. I think we saw him sign a class that was not, it was few in numbers, but we saw him, I don't know if you want to say stumble, but adjust. And he did. The next year he came back and, knocked it out of the park. But it did seem like from an outsider perspective that maybe they were just kind of hesitant with offering scholarships. But it seems like that they have made an adjustment. Whatever they're doing, they're connecting the players, whether it's Zoom or Skype or your Skype or MySpace or wherever they're doing it, it's working.
Yeah, I think it is. But Nick Saban's always been the king of adjustments. I mean, heck, Brian, you saw it on social media the last couple of days. Look at what they're debuting now. I mean, a couple of years ago, LSU built a player's locker room that everybody thought was the best they'd ever seen. Well, I mean, I'm going to date you and I because you and I were both very young when this movie came out. But I've been quoted this week as saying this. As you see Alabama's new locker room, I've never seen anything like that. It reminds me of something out of the movie Tron.
Oh, wow.
When it's lit up. I mean, it's just state of the art. And then when you look at the Sports Science Center that they're starting to give everybody a look into, it's just another, addition that's going to help Alabama enhance the recruiting aspect for Nick Saban and his staff. I mean, he hired Dr. David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray. He hired the two outstanding guys to handle the strength and conditioning that I think are cutting edge. They had helped Indiana. Indiana was very fortunate to hire those two guys. A lot of it had to do with David Ballou being a former fullback there, but they had really enhanced Indiana's football program and improved it. Now they're going to get a chance to work, with cutting-edge athletes, the best trainer in the business, and director of athletic training, and Jeff Allen, and director of medicine. And then they're going to, get a chance to, work with the best facilities and bring in great players. And I think David Ballou and Matt Ray have, both, had their impact in this class. And I think it's going to be interesting because I don't think Alabama's going to sign a 5-star QB due to Bryce Young. And because they signed the best running back class in the country last year with Jason McClellan, Kyle Edwards, and Roydell Williams, they may not sign a running back in this class. And yet, I think they will have a chance to sign the number one class in the country. And that's really hard to do without a 5-star stud at those two spots. But I still think Alabama has a chance to do it. And even if they don't sign the number one class, I've said repeatedly it won't be, past the top three. And if it's in the top three, then you're going to have, then it's player development and coaching. And I think Alabama's got as good as coaching staff as anybody in the country. And I think, with their facilities, Alabama's going to continue to be the best football program in college in the college game.
When you look at this upcoming season, Drew, let's say if we get things started the way that we expect, 46 days, and I'm not going to try to put words in your mouth, but I feel much better this week than I did the week prior that we're going to get college football back in some capacity. Where are you on the barometer? And then we'll talk about the upcoming season.
Well, I'm about 85% sure. I was 100% sure for most of the off season, even after spring football was canceled. But I have to admit, there was about a 2-week period, in the very recent past where it seemed like everything was negative. The liberal media was really trying to pound it home that they didn't need to be football, even though every other sport was restarting, so you just couldn't play football. And that was kind of depressing to me. I never bought into the spring football deal because I don't think football belongs to spring. It's a fall sport. And, and I know how important economically it is to the University of Alabama, to Auburn University, to the state. I mean, it's very important to the state. High school football is very important to the state. But the great thing is you've got voices in the media like yourself, like Clay Travis, and I think there's a lot of people, and I've tried to stay positive, that I think the sane people and the people with common sense are starting to prevail. And I know it's a very difficult time in this country, and the coronavirus is very serious, but it's manageable. There's no doubt about it. And I think with every passing hour, every passing day now, I'm getting more and more confident there's going to be college football. Now, it's going to look different. I've never thought there would be full stands, and that's unfortunate, for the fans. But it just puts the game in the hands of Eli Gold, John Parker Wilson. We look forward to having them on the air at ESPN 97.7 The Zone, and then the TV people. And, there will be select media coverage too, but I just think you'll still be able to see the games, still be able to see these guys compete. And now it's just going to be how long a season is it going to be, and hopefully it's going to be, at least an 11-game season where we see great Crimson Tide football again and have them try to make a run at, the 18th national championship.
Understanding that we have the testing that will happen 72 hours prior to the game, so that'll be a Wednesday prior to a Saturday game. Do you think that'll change the way these coaches coach a little bit, understanding there's a mandatory 14-day quarantine and you got to get so many negative tests back? But is there a chance that that we may look a little different, a little simplified, maybe not as tough on the schematic side of it? Is that possible? Or do you think Nick Saban will stick to his plan and say, hey, we're going to do what we do?
Well, I think for the most part they're going to do what they do. I mean, it's football. You've got to hit. It's got to be physical. You know, you've got to play the game. And I do think that there will be a emphasis on social distancing when you can, taking your precautions, having a sanitary environment. They'll take all the precautions and all the measures they have to. But I still think at the end of the day, it's football. Now, my most interesting question is, is there going to be a home field advantage now because the crowd's being reduced? So now this may put even more emphasis on coaching and motivation and preparing your football team week in and week out, because you may not have a huge crowd that motivates you and bring the energy. So you got to kind of create your own. And Nick Saban's always been good at trying to crank his team's tractor, and that's what I'm going to be most fascinated by, to see how this coaching staff and Pete Golding. I mean, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I've criticized him. But let's see how much better this defense can be, and maybe keeping this coaching staff intact now that this pandemic has hit. That may be a boon, another great move by Nick Saban because of the continuity aspect.
Yeah, and when you look at this team and you look at this team, compare that to other rosters in the SEC West. I mean, Alabama's got a great offensive line, if not the best in college football. You look at other places like Baton Rouge and Auburn. I mean, they're rebuilding almost all. I think there's one offensive lineman for LSU. Other than that, Auburn replaces all five. LSU 4 out of the 5. Texas A&M got some depth, but I mean, you kind of feel good when you compare this team with other teams in the SEC West.
Oh, I do. I think Alabama's the best team in the SEC, period. I think they have the best roster. I think it's going to be a team built from the inside out. I think they're going to have the best offensive line in the SEC. And the defensive line doesn't get a lot of pub, but, the injuries there hurt them about as much as the ones to the linebackers. Certainly you lose Raekwon Davis, who was a stalwart, for the last 3 years of his career. But you've got guys like DJ Dale, who I don't think anybody ever got a chance to see him truly healthy last year at the nose spot. And then you've got LeBron Ray, who missed the majority of the season, who is an all-SEC level talent, and then Christian Barmore. He may be ready to make a Quinn Williams-type explosion. So I think the defensive line will be better. I think there'll be some depth. There's a lot of young players, Byron Young, too, who has shown some flashes, Braylon Ingraham. There's a lot of good young DLs, on this Alabama football team. And then I think offensive line-wise, you've got to figure out what you're going to do at center. Is it going to be Darian Dalcourt? Is it going to be Landon Dickerson? I think it's going to be Dalcourt. I think he's an outstanding talent. I think Landon Dickerson can move the left guard. And then if you've got Deontay Brown in shape, Cornbread, is a master at right guard. So I think the tackle spots will be outstanding. Evan Neal, Alex Leatherwood. And then, at least at the start of the season, you got to believe Mac Jones is going to be the trigger guy. He proved a lot last year. And Alabama's going to have the deepest, running back room in the SEC. And then you got 2 electric wide receivers. So I think Alabama, they check all the boxes, offensively. And then defensively, if they can put the pieces together in the secondary and at outside linebacker, the rest of the pieces, the inside linebacker core is going to be healthy. The D-line, I'll be honest with you, Ryan, and this is a par for the course for Nick Saban, but to me, the biggest question for Alabama going into the season, preseason anyway, I think they have the pieces and the talent offensively and defensively. It's how healthy is Will Riker, and can they find a punter? Because I think right now there's some questions there in the kicking game.
Oh, I mean, you bring up special teams. I mean, I was having a great day until you brought it up. I mean, Drew, it's like a It's a constant shock when you think of Alabama's kicker. I was at a rodeo on Saturday night here in Tuscaloosa. The rodeo clown made fun of Alabama's kicking game.
Wow. Yeah, it's been rough, no doubt about it. I do think Will Reichert would have stabilized some things last year, and that's yet another injury that's not played up. You know, he seems that he's healthy right now. Now, I don't think Will Reichert will be punting. Certainly, I think they're going to give the first dibs to Ty Perine, the sophomore from Prattville, and we'll see, what happens going forward. But I think, if Will Reichert is healthy and as good as, he was hyped to be last year, that could be a question that's answered quickly. And it would be big for Alabama. Now, I think we understand that the return game is going to be in the hands of Jalen Waddle. He's one of the most electric football players in the country, but we just don't know how many opportunities he's truly going to get, because there's going to be a lot of people kicking away from him, whether it be kickoffs or punts. But that could, work in Alabama's advantage as well due to field position. But still, the threat of a guy like Waddle is going to help Alabama. But you're right. I mean, the kicking situation always seems to be a question. But I do think the talent is there with Will Reichert. You just hope he's healthy. And you hope Alabama, injuries played a huge part in them going, quote-unquote, a disappointing 11-2. But we know a lot of programs would love to go 11-2 and win the Citrus Bowl, but Alabama's not judged that way. They're judged by championships. And, Nick Saban's built a beast, and when you build a beast, you have to feed it. And I think this team's going to be motivated to reclaim their SEC championship and get back to the playoff and try to win number 18.
Hey, Drew, I got about 60 seconds, but I want to ask you the question that we've been asking today. And we've done it before, but even today really had a lot of people call in and chime in. Worst Alabama loss you've ever experienced?
Worst Alabama loss I've ever experienced. That's a great question.
We've had 73 Notre Dame brought up. You and I don't remember that as much, but
right.
2013 Kick Six, Clemson out in Santa Clara, and some others. Louisiana Monroe was brought up too. Yeah.
I think for me it would have to be the 2013 Kick Six. I think Alabama was 2 touchdowns better than Auburn. I think they should have whipped them in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Some will say that, the Clemson loss in the 2017 national championship game and that 2016 team should have been undefeated. But injuries played a big part of that. You didn't have SDH. You didn't have Eddie Jackson. And then you lose Bo Scarborough in that game. So, yeah, I don't, and then Lane Kiffin was off the reservation. So that was, and you lost to a truly great quarterback and great football team. That Auburn team was a really good team, but I think that Alabama team should have won that game. And then if you win that game, to me, you win the SEC championship, you play Florida State, you've got a month to prepare, and I think Alabama would have had an outstanding chance to win 3 in a row. So to me, the Kick Six is probably the game that, and just the way it ended, it would be probably the worst loss for me. I'll just tell a story real quick. I was on my couch.
I don't have a lot of time.
I'm just going to say real quick, it's just really short. For example, I was on my couch watching that game, Ryan. I did not attend it. I did not cover it. And I did not move for 4 hours following the loss.
Well, I admitted to the audience I shot a bird to the TV for 3 or 4 minutes afterwards.
I can imagine.
And my wife did it in the subtle voice. She goes, "Ryan, they can't see you." I said, "I know, but it makes me feel better." You're a real Alabama fan when you stand and look at the TV, and it's kind of fun. Hey, Drew, I got to get out of here, man. Tell me more about 97.7 The Zone.
Absolutely. We are the new home for University of Alabama Athletics in Huntsville and North Alabama. ESPN.
I like the way that sounds. Be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds great. We're really excited. You can see all our content on our new website, ESPN977.com. And, of course, you can hear my show Monday through Friday, 7 to 9, on we'll be talking ball, Scott Tyson and I on ESPN 97.7 The Zone. You can connect with me at Drew D, 977 ESPN, and our station at 977 ESPN. And it's always great to be on with you on Tide 100.9 on Alabama Tradition. Tell Martin what's up, and I'm glad he's coaching his son, and I hope they have a great year over there at Northridge.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Great conversation there. We'll put a wrap up on Alabama tradition. Tommy Paradise, thank you, man. I don't ever say bye to you because you're always out of here in the 6 o'clock hour. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Martin Houston will be back next week. We thank our law enforcement officers, EMTs, firefighters, all those. And we close out with every day. We talk about the game. The only way that you can win the big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-10. I'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock here on Tide 100.9.
I was in the middle of